When Republicans claim that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi must have known about waterboarding in 2002 because the CIA would never have misled her, they stake their credibility on the CIA's credibility. As we told you last night, newly released documents in a separate case now strongly suggest the CIA was willing to lie at almost exactly the same time about something far less politically charged. Our fourth story tonight begins in 1993 when Drug Enforcement Agent Richard Horne clashed with the CIA and State Department over how to fight drugs in Burma. Horne, seen at center here in 93, filed a lawsuit against the State Department official to his right here, Franklin Huddle, and a covert CIA operative named Arthur Brown, claiming they bugged his home. Why did Horne think his home had been bugged? On August 12th, he called a coworker from there. On August 13th, Huddle sent a cable quoting Horne's call from the U.S. Embassy in Burma to the State Department. On August 14th, a friend of Horne's in the State Department told Horne about it. Horne was soon transferred, thereby losing his beef with the CIA. After returning home, though, he recalled his earlier puzzlement over why the U.S. officials who maintained his Burmese apartment had suddenly decided they had to get in to replace an upstairs lamp and a downstairs coffee table that matched his furniture, with an oval one that did not. He suspected a bug, and he sued. In 2000, CIA Director George Tenet invoked the state secret privilege because Brown was covert. In 2004, Tenet got the case dismissed because neither party could discuss anything about Brown. Horne continued his fight, and what he did not know until 2008 was that Tenet's CIA had lifted Brown's covert status in 2002, and no one told the courts. Last March, acting CIA General Counsel John Rizzo, a player in waterboarding too, told the court that Brown alerted one CIA lawyer in 2005 that he was no longer covert, but that the lawyer kept it to himself, leading to government filings that, in Rizzo's words, quote, incorrectly indicated that Brown was still covert. Rizzo apologized profoundly. Judge Royce Lambert, quote, not only was this false submission intentional, it was also material. 12 days later, Brown sent the court a filing of his own, saying, in effect, Rizzo's full of it. Quote, I recall notifying in person 2 attorneys in the CIA legal office about the change in my cover status in 2002. In other words, Rizzo, the CIA's legal chief, admitted one of his attorneys withheld the truth from the court. And then a former CIA agent accused not only 2 more attorneys of knowing the truth, he also accused Rizzo of lying about it. The judge, a national security veteran, has ruled the CIA committed fraud against the court and is considering sanctions against Tenet, Rizzo, and others. And in a secret hearing this May, he referred to, quote, all these lies. With us tonight is James Risen, author of State of War, The Secret History of the CIA and the Bush Administration, also an investigative reporter for the New York Times. And James, good evening.
Thanks for having me.
James, first, can you give us a brief sketch of Judge Lambert?
Well, he is, the interesting thing about him is that he was also the chief judge of the FISA court, the secret court that handled warrants on wiretapping. And he was the only judge on the court who was told by the Bush administration that they were approved, that they were going around the FISA court with warrantless wiretapping. So he has a lot of history now with the Bush administration and with the issue of intelligence and what's properly notified and what's not.
In that May 13th hearing this year, the judge said about the government secrecy, quote, I am sick and tired of getting the runaround, and, quote, you handcuff the court this nonsense, and that the Justice Department was, quote, saying the U.S. is not accountable for their own lies. What does he really think?
Well, the interesting thing to me is I looked into this case several years ago as a reporter. I tried to report on the Horne case before it became public, and it was very difficult to get any real information, and it kind of boiled down to a he said issue, and so I was never able to actually publish a story about it. And then when I saw this latest from Judge Lambert, now I realize what was really going on behind the scenes at the CIA, and it gives a lot more credibility to the Horne case than I think anybody realized at the time.
This case began under President Clinton, and current CIA Director Panetta also gets called out by the judge. So this is certainly bigger than politics. Is this about the CIA or perhaps even a culture of using secrecy as a shield?
Well, I think that's the issue, is that the CIA has always, they're just as credible as they're human. They're just some people at the CIA lie, just like at every institution, and to say that they'll never lie or that they will always tell the truth is just silly. I mean, every organization has people who lie or people who are honest. So, they're just like everybody else. The only difference is that they kind of hide behind a veil of secrecy.
What happens now, both with this case and the Republican claim that the CIA does not lie?
Well, I think that was a silly argument to say that the CIA never lies. This case does not mean that Nancy Pelosi is telling the truth about waterboarding. I don't think you can say that. It just means that the people at the CIA are human, and that they're not Superman, and that they're not, that they're no different from the rest of us, except that they have secrecy to protect them.
But then does it also say something about the Republicans who claim that the CIA would never lie, they would never mislead anybody?
Yeah, I just think, that's just kind of a silly argument, and I think, frankly, Nancy Pelosi has made a mistake in trying to go down this road of saying that she was lied to, when it was probably true that there was some kind of briefing. I think it was a much more nuanced story than either side wants to say, but I think it was also silly of the Republicans to make it such a big political deal.
James Risen of the New York Times. James, thanks as always for your time. We appreciate it.
Sure.